Hi, welcome back to our next version of our Ask the SEO Expert. My name is Chris Sachs. I'm the Vice President of Client Success at seoClarity. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Stephanie Castillo from Perfect Search Media. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thanks, Chris. It's good to be here in my house at
Yeah,
home.
same here. Same here. I'm sitting in my basement. I try to put stuff on the walls to make it a little bit more interesting, but certainly interesting times, and so glad that you were able to carve out some time to chat with us.
Of
So
course.
maybe just to get started, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into SEO?
Yeah, of course. So I am the Senior SEO and Content Manager at Perfect Search Media. We are an SEO and PPC agency based in Chicago, Illinois, although at the moment everybody is remote. And I have been working in SEO for around 5 years. I started out at a larger agency called Performix, which is also here in Chicago, as a junior analyst. Came over to Perfect Search because I was looking to get more hands-on experience at a smaller agency that you can't really get at a larger agency, and I've worked my way up, and now I run the department. Yeah, we work on a lot of different SEO clients in different industries, so it's fun to touch all aspects of that.
That's awesome, and love having a chance to talk to SEO experts from the agency world because you have such a diverse level of experience, seeing so many different challenges and so many different types of wins with different companies. So I know people will be really interested in hearing more from you. In 5 years, I have a rule of thumb that if you've been doing SEO for 2 years, you're like a veteran. So 5 years in, you've suffered enough and have seen some interesting things that I know you have a lot of cool things to say today. So, Stephanie, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you would crown as one of your greatest achievements, or what would you consider one of the big wins that you've had in SEO?
Yeah, so it's something that actually happened for us this past year with our content strategy for one of our higher education clients. So they're having a tough time. I think everyone is with the pandemic and trying to get prospective students, prospective clients to, convert leads on the website. So that's something that they're really struggling with. And one of the ways that we've been able to help them with that is their content strategy.
Hmm.
So we were previously writing, I think, 2 blogs a month for them, and we upped that to around 6 blogs a month, doing keyword research in all different areas of education, incorporating some remote online kinds of keywords that people are searching for at the moment. And as a result, we've seen a really amazing increase in growth and keywords that they're ranking for. So from like January to September, we've seen an almost 200% increase in organic traffic to their blog, a
So,
220% increase in the number of keywords the blog is ranking for. And they've also seen an increase in their domain authority from 52 to 53, which I feel like is one of the most difficult SEO KPIs to influence, is DA. So I think it's just really exciting that SEO still works, and having a really solid, consistent content strategy can garner really exciting results for your business. I would say that's like my biggest achievement, is helping them achieve that organic traffic even in an especially challenging climate for them.
yeah, any of the wins that we can experience, especially over the past 6 months, do have a very special exclamation mark on them. And you're right, and it's great to have tangible results. And thanks for sharing that. And content marketing, SEO is not dead, so content marketing definitely can play a major role. And that sounds great. So thanks for sharing that. So we talked about a bit of a win there. I'm sure, like all of us have had in the past, there's been a disaster, or there's been that one moment in time you wish you could erase. Anything like that ever happened to you by any chance you'd want to share?
Yes. I mean, I guess on the note of domain authority, so there was this one time where I was going through a client's backlink profile to see if there were any domains that we could disavow in Google Search Console. And they actually saw a decrease in domain authority, which is definitely the opposite of what you want to see happen when you're trying to do a backlink profile cleanup. Like, you don't want to take it too far.
Yeah.
So I would say that was a pretty big disaster. And the way that we recovered from this was, well, I went in and I edited the disavow list to take away any of those domains that shouldn't have been in there. And we also worked really hard to procure new backlinks for them. But yeah, definitely learn that you've got to be really detail oriented, pay attention to what you're doing, be conservative with what you're disavowing because, you know, you don't want to go too far, which I did.
Link building is still a bit of an art, and just hearing that those are things that you're working on and focusing on for your clients, it's really important. I mean, backlinks are still a critical part of authority and success in SEO, and I know, and you were probably super responsive to be able to pick up and see, all right, I definitely screwed up. This is what's happened, and then coming up with a plan, which is great to share that because oftentimes people freeze. So hearing and sharing, this is how I was able to recuperate is really important. So let's roll off that a little bit. So we talked about a good win, talked about a disaster we'll forget about after this. What about SEO in general as a career? And you've done a great job. You've been able to make a transition from a large to a smaller agency. You've gotten yourself promoted. You're in a leadership role, which is amazing. What about SEO? Maybe you could tell me what frustrates you about SEO and what really gets you excited. What keeps you going at it?
Yeah, I think one thing that's really frustrating is how long it can take to see results from something that you're implementing. Like you can write a blog post and put it up in February and not see those gains in organic traffic until September. So I think that can just be frustrating from an account management standpoint because clients are paying you money now, they're hoping to see results now or at least really soon. And with SEO, it's a really cliche thing to say, but it is a marathon, not a sprint. And so that's one thing that's frustrating from a work perspective is just trying to communicate that to clients that it can take some time. Ultimately the gains that you get from, let's say, that blog post, like even if it takes you 7 months to win keywords for that post, that blog post can win you organic traffic for years to come. So it definitely is worth the investment, but as the person communicating that to the client, that can be frustrating.
Yeah, you know what, it's really good perspective because, you know, an in-house SEO, especially at a really big company, there's a lot of things that they're trying to manage. Oftentimes they're managing politics and executive relationships and buy-in and budgets. And it's easy to sometimes lose sight that their agency partner provides such great insights. And there's a lot of work and effort that goes into building the content strategy, providing the insight, identifying the issues. And there's a lot hanging on that account manager, that person from the agency that you're working with. They want to hear those results. So that's a really great perspective to give. So maybe, as an expert and someone who's been around the block and has seen a lot of things and has had some great success, maybe you could share what are maybe 3 of your biggest pieces of advice that you would give to someone who's starting out into SEO, who's trying to make an impression perhaps in the SEO industry. What would you tell them?
Yeah. Well, I think the 3 most important skills to have are data analysis, like really strong writing skills, and then verbal communication. So I think anything you can do to improve those 3 things is really huge. So on the data analysis note, like get really comfortable with Excel. So learning formulas to make it easier, like concatenate or VLOOKUP, will really go a long way into just making something that could take hours take just a few minutes. Even things like hotkeys and keyboard shortcuts to make your general life workflow,
Mm.
like just having, acumen of your own computer, like really makes your life easier because I feel like many times you're downloading these Excel files, you're trying to manipulate the data. So knowing like shortcuts can really go a long way. I think on the note of your writing skills, so I was a journalism major, so I have a pretty strong writing background, and I think it's really served me in all aspects of this job, whether that's the actual work, like writing blog content, writing metadata, writing product page copy, to things like emails to clients, which is something that I think not a lot of people really think about as being important for the job. But I have spent hours like thinking about emails to clients and how they're going to read and putting a lot of love and effort into them.
Mm.
And I think that like a well-crafted email is a thing of beauty.
Agreed.
And then the last thing I would say around, your verbal communication,
Mhm.
again, I don't think that this is specific to SEO necessarily. I think any person can benefit from developing their oral communication. But I think especially with SEO, like to call back to my example of people being frustrated without achieving results right away, for example, like being able to get your message across is really important. A lot of the concepts can be really technical, and your point of contact might not have any background in HTML or CSS. So being able to explain things in layman's terms is really important. But then conversely, you might have a client that's really well versed in digital marketing, so it's important that you're super sharp too. And so I think trying to navigate those different like communication styles is super important to coming across as an expert, like getting trust from them. Um, that's really important to fostering the client relationship. So like, yeah, I would say like written communication is really important in all aspects, because like sometimes you need to get buy-in from an executive, or you're in a sales setting and you're trying to pitch SEO to someone. So yeah, I would say like sharpening your verbal communication is really, really crucial.
I love all three of those. I feel like they're all interview questions that I have all the time. So those are excellent. Great job. And thank you, Stephanie Castillo from Perfect Search Media, on our edition of SEO experts, and such great advice today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.